Hello, in today's tutorial I'm going to cover some basic SQL. We're going to use it in Python. If you want to skip through my basic introduction of why I chose to learn SQL in Python, as well as some of the things that you will need and the commands that we're going to learn, you can skip to about minute 3.5. All right. So let's get started. As a product manager, you're going to need to analyze data. I track my own metrics on a weekly, daily, and monthly basis. And while I mostly use Excel, I'm highly proficient in Excel. It is a tool that does not perform well once you have to process more than 100,000 records. So in the past, I really have spent countless hours working on Excel while it kept on crashing and losing all the data that I just analyzed. So I needed a better way to process my data. And I first started with learning some SQL, just basic commands. And it's very easy to learn. It only took me about a couple of hours to get the gist of it. However, it is super difficult to set up, so it actually took me a lot longer to start using it. And then I started learning some basic Python, mostly because I learned about just the different visualization libraries that you can use in Python. And also Python is just known to be the holy grail, the #1 tool used for data analysis. So I was curious. But learning Python is very complicated. It takes a long time. It's a much steeper learning curve than learning SQL. But it is really easy to set it up with a Jupyter Notebook. It will only take you a couple of seconds to get it working, and then you can start practicing right away. So I wanted to combine the two worlds of SQL and how easy it is and how much of a natural language it is in terms of learning the queries, and then using the Jupyter Notebook and how simple it is to set up on the fly. And so I learned that you can do that. You can use SQL in Python, and this is what I'm going to cover in this brief tutorial today. Today we're going to analyze the city bike data. I'll also assume that you have Anaconda distribution downloaded on your machine. If not, follow this link and it'll take you to Python 3.6 version. Install it and you're going to be ready to go. So what you're going to learn today is just a series of queries in SQL that we're going to use. They're pretty basic, learning how many records you have in a given table. So sometimes you are not even able to open your Excel file. Here you're going to be able to, just getting the basic counts, then grouping your data by gender or by any other parameters that you may have. You can just substitute it right here. Then counting the total number of records by some parameter, in our case user type, and then splitting it by something that you want, in my case gender, and then calculating averages, and then some more splitting of data by groups. All that is going to be covered in starting minute 8. All right, let's get started. Open your terminal and type in Jupyter Notebook. It is really just that simple. Enter. And give it a couple of seconds. It's going to automatically launch the Jupyter Notebook. If it does not, you have the token right here. So you can just copy and paste that into your browser. Looks like my default browser on this computer is Safari, so I would open it here. Once here, you can open a new Python 3 notebook. You can name it whatever you would like. SQL in Python, rename, and we can get started. So first I would like to import a couple of libraries. Pandas is that amazing library that I talked about that is for visualization of your data. Shift Enter will execute, and actually I'm going to add some more cells in here. And then I also want to import SQLite 3. This will allow us to use SQL in Python. So remember that we are in Python, even though we're going to end up using SQL. SQL's easy commands. And then I want to import. That CSV file that I talked about. If you Google City Bike system data, it's the first link, and it really is a ton of data that they have on here. I think just for 2017, there's like 8 million records. So obviously not something that you'll be able to process in Excel. So let's go to this latest file and copy the link address. And let's get Pandas to help us with reading that CSV. I'm putting in here in rows 10 because I want to see the data, but I don't want to see the whole 8 million rows. About 10 records will do. And once I execute it, again, Shift Enter, it will give us the 10 records that we asked for. And everything here looks fine. You can see what type of data there is. It just loads that CSV, the first 10 records. The only one thing that I learned in SQL is that it hates having spaces in between things. And so here, these column headers have spaces. We're going to need to change them to an underscore, which I can show you how to do that in a second. Once we have this data, we're going to need some Python in order to be able to process this data in SQL. So let me just write out one formula, a for loop, and from there we're going to move right into SQL. I have a for loop, and here is splitting the data by chunks of 100,000, and for each chunk we remove the column headers, or we underscore them, and that's it, right? If I run this, I get an error. Sorry, I forgot one step in here. Let's define DB. It did not load all the data, but we have enough data. We have these 4 files that we can play with, so disregard this error for now. We are ready to run our SQL commands. So let's use Pandas again. Now SQL query. And here are most commonly used commands in SQL. Select, usually in uppercase. From trip data, limit 10. The reason why I'm limited to 10 is I don't want to load this whole data set again. I just want to get 10 records. So this is basically select everything, so everything that we have in this table, trip data. However, limit what you're showing me to 10. DB in our case. And yeah, when I run this, Shift Enter again, this is what I get, which looks great. It has the underscores here. That looks fantastic. If you wanted to know what is the average trip duration or anything average in whatever your data set is, you can run this very simple command. Again, read SQL query, again, select, and now average trip duration, which is this column right here. We want to average it from, you always have to put from which table, which is trip data. And you just always have to put your second variable. And here is your average trip duration. Okay, if you wanted to know, tell me the total number of records that is in this table, you would, again, run a simple command, pandas read, SQL query, select, asterisk, from, well, select count. It doesn't matter whether it's uppercase or not, by the way. From, and then your table. So we'll count the total number of records. In our case, it is, what is this? 91,000. Again, not the entire, not all the files loaded in here, so there's only 91,000. Then let's suppose you wanted to know the data split by gender. What you can do is SQL query, again, select, count, from trip data, group by gender. SQL is super easy. Oh, there's an error here. Oh, one argument missing. Yeah, you always have to add DB. So in our case, 0, 1, 2 are the genders. You're going to have to check out what the legend here is. Gender 0 is unknown, 1 is male, 2 is female. In our case, there are 7,000 undefined males and females here, number 2. Pretty easy. Now, if you wanted to know, for example, user type, you wanted to split your data by gender and maybe user type, right? Let's just split it by 2. You would do pandas read select gender user type count all from trip data group by gender and user type. Let's limit this to 100. Again, sorry, forgot the other argument. There's an issue here. Sorry. This is why it's better to capitalize. And here it is. You have your genders. You don't even have to limit this actually. You selected a gender and user type. You counted them by gender and user type. and you grouped by them. Pretty useful. If you, for example, wanted to know what is the average trip duration and split that data by gender, group it by gender, you could also do that. Select gender. You select average trip duration, I think it was, from your table, which is trip data, and you group by gender. And an error again. Don't be afraid of errors, those happen all the time. Group by, and there we are. It looks like women, and this is in seconds, I believe, women ride a lot longer than men on average. Now let's pretend that you wanted to know the average age of a rider. There is a column here called birth year. So what you could do is subtract this year from the current year, 2017, and that would give you the age of a person, and then you could get the average age from there. So let's do our query again. They all start with the word select, so we can just copy that. We're going to, again, subtract the age minus birth year as age. We're going to count it. This is from trip data, your table. You want to group it by age. And then, yeah, let's execute that. Ooh, here's a long one. Let's just remove the nan here, just 0. So if we just put having age greater than 1,